Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and this amazing video. I'm Aditya. In this video, we are gonna cover like lots of concepts. So this video is gonna be longer, but definitely it's gonna be very amazing. So we are gonna see actually React Native develop a mobile app with React Native, which will have login and registration. We are gonna use Firebase for authentication, and we will also use React Native navigation for navigating from one screen to another. Also, to make it more interesting, I'm going to follow the atomic design principles in making this app. So, without any further ado, let's begin. So, let's first understand what is React Native. So, if you have used React before, then you will find this React Native very easy for developing a mobile app. So, it is nothing but you write a React code in JavaScript. Of course, the JSX will change, like the tags where you have HTML tags for React Web. Here, those tags are substituted with the native tags, which are like view, uh, text, and there is text input, and there are several tags. So we will see that as well. So what React Native does is you write code in JavaScript and it compiles it into the native code. So we don't have to worry about writing separate code for iOS, separate code for Java. All we have to do is just write once and learn once and write anywhere we like. So other alternative for React Native, because of course every tools and technology has its pros and cons. So other alternative is Flutter, and there is also Vue Native, which is nothing but a wrapper for React Native. So I'm not sure will it be considered as a alternative for React Native, because it's React Native only and just having a syntactic sugar of Vue Native. But of course, so there is Ionic, there is Flutter, there is also there is one more, I forgot the name, but yeah, there are like several alternatives, like couple of alternatives, actually not several, but couple of alternatives to React Native. So when you should use React Native and who is this suitable for? So if you're coming from web development world, then React Native is the best option for you to have your career started in mobile development. Of course, like if you would like to stick with the native approach of Java and Swift for iOS, in this case for Java for Android and Swift for iOS, or then that's fine as well. But if you find it, like if you find using JavaScript simple and if you are comfortable with it, then React Native is a good option. The other example for React Native is there are like, sorry, it's not an example, but actually it's cons of React Native, that when it comes to handling native modules, like very detailed native modules, uh, then React Native may not be sufficient. But if you would like a basic app, like where you want some camera operation, if you would like some, say, e-commerce app, or if you would like some, say, an app which would cover, I would say, 95% of your native functionalities, then React Native is the best option. Okay, so that's all about theory of React Native. Let's see who uses React Native. So these are the companies who are using it. There is Facebook, of course, because it is by Facebook, they will use it. Instagram, Oculus, Coinbase, Shopify, W, and there are several companies. So Flipkart, it's Indian e-commerce giant, so it's like Amazon of India. So there is Discord, there is Skype, Bloomberg, and there are several companies. Now, to make our life more simple, there is something known as Expo. So what this Expo does is, so it so okay, so if you are coming from web dev world, then React Native is a good option. But if you want to make life more simple by having the certain steps to be taken care of, then Expo is a good option as well. So Expo is nothing but it is using React Native. It is a React Native stuff only. So what it does is it builds your project behind the scene for you. Plus, it makes sure that it is easy for you to develop or deploy your code, or sorry, not code, but the project or the app on the App Store or Play Store, wherever you like. So it makes your life super simple. So let's check the docs. So we'll come. So it's, as I say, like it's just a framework and using React Native. So what we are gonna do for this application is we will be using Expo. So I assume like for this video that you have some understanding of React, and also I will be covering React native stuff a bit in detail, but not all the React stuff. So sorry for that. Like it's just to keep the video short, else the video is gonna get super long. So let's see what we need to do here. So we have to, as usual, install the CLI, which I have already installed. So then all we need to do is just init our project. So it's same like npm init. So let's go over here. I'm gonna say expo init, and I'm gonna call my app login registration. You can call it anything. I'm just gonna call it login registration because that's what we are gonna do in this. So let's hit enter, and it carries out its installation steps and everything. Let's see what we have here. So okay, I guess that's all we need to do. Yeah, so let's go back over here. Yes, so it gives us an option. So do we want to start with a bare minimal template, or do we want to start from total blank template? And it also has option for TypeScript. So I'm gonna choose the very first option because I don't want anything from Expo. So I'm just gonna go with blank and let it install. So this is gonna take a bit of time. So I will skip this part of video, and once it's installed, we will get back to it. All right, so it's installed now. So what we need to do is just go to cd login registration. So that's our project, and I'm gonna use VS Code for this. So let's open in VS Code and let it open there. So right, so this is our basic project, or the basic structure of the project. And if you see, it's like somewhat similar to React, or mostly similar to React, where we have this app.js, the app component, and then we have this Expo shared. So let's now okay, so we have this. Now first thing we need to do is, before we start our project, let's first configure Firebase, because the thing is, whenever you install new package in this Expo or in this React Native project, you have to rerun that Expo run start or npm run start or yarn start, whatever it is. So I'm going to first install all the packages I need, and then I'm going to start. So first one, before that, I will be using Tailwind React Native class names. So this is actually a very interesting package and very amazing package as well, because it allows you to use Tailwind in your React Native project. The thing to consider here is React Native stylings are not CSS stylings, they are JavaScript style sheet. But what we could do is we could use Tailwind, and these things will get compiled or get converted to the vanilla style sheet of React Native. So we don't have to worry on that. So let's install this package. So I'm just going to copy this, go over here, and just install it. So once it is installed, then we can use it. Now, next, let's go to Firebase console. Let's create a project. Okay, so if you are new to Firebase, so Firebase is a service from Google to use all the cloud resources, or most of the cloud resources. So as the definition suggests here, it allows you, or it gives you the infrastructure for improving your app and business, which means it just provides you the database, the authentication required, also the ML aspects, and there are some ML aspects as well, like machine learning aspect that it provides, and there are several components which it provides. So as our project is just for testing and medium size, I'm going to go with the Firebase authentication. So I'm just going to create a project first. Here, we just need to write the name of the project. So I'm going to say React Native. Wrong spelling. Again, wrong spelling there. So as you could see, it will give a unique identifier to our project. So we'll just create it. For now, I don't need Google Analytics because it's just for test. And then it will create the project. Now, Firebase services can be used separately for mobile, like iOS, Android, and also for Unity and for web. Now, as we are using Expo, I will be using the web part of the Firebase, because in all those services are doing the same thing, like they're going to make the API call behind the scene to our Firebase project and just carry out all those authentication and all those services. So as you could see, like we have authentication service, there's Firestore database, which is mostly like a MongoDB database, you could say, because there are collections, documents. Then there are real-time databases. They both have their pros and cons. Storage, is for storing your files like images, Word files, PDFs, and all those stuffs. They also provide for hosting, and if you're aware of AWS Lambda functions, so these functions are somewhat similar to that, just to have some serverless architecture in your code, in your project. And they also have the machine learning aspect. This is what I was talking about. So this is really good if you want to try hands-on some machine learning aspect in your web apps or even for the mobile apps. Now we are interested in the authentication one. So what we need to do is, before we get started, we need to create a project. Or sorry, we created a project. We have to create a application. So I'm going to go to project settings and down over here. So as you could see, there are several options. So I'm going to go with the web options. So this is for Unity, Android, and iOS, but we will stick with the web one. Now I will give a name to it. So I'm going to say, let's say React Native app, and I'm just going to register this app. So once that's registered, we will get some piece of code, which is something like this, which we just have to include in our application, and we are good to go. Now, one thing to notice here is when you run this command, it won't work with your React Native. Why? Because as we are using Expo, our code is going to compile by Expo, and Expo needs packages compatible with it. So this one is going to install Firebase 9 point something, but Expo needs the 8 point something. So what we are going to do is, to install Firebase through Expo, we are going to say Expo install Firebase. Now, if I hit enter, this will install Firebase version, as it says, which is appropriate for our this SDK, which is the Expo 42.0 something SDK. Okay. Now, till it is installing, we will go to our React Native navigation, which should be somewhere here. Now, if you have used React Router before, so this React navigation is somewhat similar to that, where you have a stack of screens and you can just switch from one screen to another using that stack. So let's first install this one. So we'll just copy this as it is and go to our command line. Oh, it's still installing. So let it take its time. Till then, we will just wait. And let's see what we could do around. So let's try to understand the project here. So here, as you could see, we have the app component. Inside that, we are importing the first one, the status bar. It's just one React Native component, nothing else. Or it's most like the Expo status bar, but it's again a React Native component again. So we are including React. So if I go to package.json, you'll see that React is installed. There is React DOM and there is React Native to translate our code into the native modules or native code. Now let's go back again over here, app.js, and if you see, it is exactly similar to React's, so I'm gonna say React Web for React.js, like a plain vanilla or React.js, and I'm gonna say React Native for the mobile one. So this is exactly similar to Web React, and all you have is like one parent component. Inside that you have several other components. So let's see if our project package is installed. Yes, it is. And now let's install back again this React Native navigation. Many apologies, like I'm jumping from here and there, but let's first install all the packages and then let's kickstart the project for a while, like just in one go. So till it's getting installed, let's see what it has. So here you'll see that it has separate dependencies for Expo and for core React Native project. So if you want to stick with Expo, like if you want to have like small to medium size app, also because it depends on the scope of the app, then Expo is a really good option. Now, if you started your project with Expo, you can always switch to plain React Native with Expo eject. So that's not a problem. So feel free like to start with Expo if you want to, and then you can switch back to React Native. That's not a problem, because Expo is nothing but React Native only. It just makes your development process faster, nothing else. So let's copy this I hope so. It is installed by now. Yes, and let's install this. So it will take again a bit of time. So we will just wait till it installs, or what we could do is we could just go back over here and see what we could do more. Yeah, so the style sheet. So style sheet here, as you could see, is different than CSS, but it has somewhat the JavaScript CSS properties. Okay, so if this was CSS, it would be something like background color, something like this. But as it is JavaScript or it's a style sheet, then we have to write in a JavaScript syntax. So one thing to make sure here that if you see that here we have an object inside an object, and when we write style in React Native, we don't use those class names, but we use style equal to, and then we pass in an object, and from these styles we want the container styles, so it will take this one. Okay, now let's save this and let's go back over here, and we are good to go finally. Now let's run our project. So it's pretty easy to run. I'm just going to say npm run car, and then it will start our project. First it will start a local server like this, and then it will provide us various options, actually 3 options. One is to run the project on iOS emulator, one on a web emulator, one on Android emulator, actually 4, and the 4th option is to run on our device, like actual physical device. I'm going to use actual physical device, and I will be using this app power mirror to forecast my screen. So all you need to do is on your mobile, whether it's Android or iOS, you need to install the Expo Go or Expo client. Once you install this, just scan the QR code. So I'll just show you how it works. So let me mirror my screen. So I'll quickly mirror it, and here we go. So you'll see there is this Expo. Now what I have to do is just over here. So I'm just going to scan the QR code, and let's scan this one. Yeah. So once it is scanned, it will compile all the JavaScript, convert it into a native module, and it will create a runnable app for us. Okay, so it's gonna take a bit of time. Like the first compilation is always slow, but after that it's faster. So there. So it's now ready. Now let's start coding in. So here, if you see, we have open as this app.js to start working, blah blah blah. So here the same message is displayed here. So what I'm going to do first, as we are going to follow the atomic structure, so here I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it screens. So this will be all our screens, and then I'm going to create another folder, and I'm going to call it components. This will be our components. So here the first component I'm going to create is the title.js. Now I'm using this extension which is React, yeah, this one. So this allows you to easily, with just like shorthand codes, it allows you to get the skeleton of those like the snippets. So if you're using React Native, it can create a functional React Native component for plain React, functional React, or class for both. Anyhow, so very good plugin. I will highly recommend you to install it if you're using VS Code. Now to start with it, here I'm going to type RFC, sorry, not RFC, but RNF. So React Native functional component, hit enter, and it will create a skeleton for us. Now we don't need this view because we will be using the atomic principle, and it's going to be like just one text tag. So okay, let's remove it from here. So if this was web, you would have something like this, h1 tag or h2 tag or any h tag from 1 to 9, and then inside that you will have your maybe title or prop, whatever it is. But in React Native we have only text. Okay, so this text expects some string inside it. So I'm going to pass a prop inside it. So I'm going to call this prop as text, which will come from our component, and here I'm going to say that prop as text. Simple. Yep. So this is our text. Now let's style it. So I'm going to import tw from Tailwind React Native class names. And here I'm going to say style equal to. So if we see the documentation of Tailwind React Native class names over here, so it's very easy to use. We just have to pass in this just the TW, which is that Tailwind Tailwind React Native class name variable, and just have to provide all the Tailwind classes that we can. So here I'm going to do the same thing. Just write TW, then backtick. My first tag would be, class would be text to vector, because I want this for, it's a title, so I want it a bit bigger. Font bold, tracking white, some spaces between the letters, and I think this should be good. Now let's give some padding actually, so p of 2, and that's good. So title component is there. Now let's use the other one, which is the input component. So I'm going to say input, I'm going to say form input actually, form input.js. Now same RFC, oh sorry, RNF, not RFC. I always get confused between RFC and RNF. So RFC for React functional component and RNF for React Native functional component. So here we have form input. Now we will just need text input from here. So I'm just going to copy that, and let's remove all of this from here, and all we will need is just text input. Okay. Now if you were using this on web again, so you would have something like input and then type equal to maybe email, text, whatever the type is. But here we will just use it as it is, as text input. Okay, so in React Native, instead of input, you have just text input. Okay, now this thing might be confusing, but just hang on with me, because we will get back to this part, or this part is going to make more sense when we use this component in our parent component. So I'm going to pass some props here. So I will just say as it is as props. And here I'm going to take something like this, and I'm going to use this spread operator on other. Okay, and all the props will go over there. And whatever props I pass on this text input will be attached over here. So that will be others. Okay. One more. Yeah. Also, now the main purpose of using this as a atomic component is to have the basic style or some styling to it. So let's give that style. I'm going to say style. Then we haven't included Tailwind. Okay, let's copy this and paste it over here. And let's just have it like this, TW. Let's give it some border. So I'm going to say border blue of maybe 400. Some rounded edges. And what else? Let's give some padding. So px horizontal padding of 3 and py of 2, and that should be good. So this is our input box. Now let's create a label, which is a form label. Now I'll go back again over here, and I will create form label.js. Okay, now inside this I'm gonna say rnf, this time got it right. So form label, also we will just need the text tag. Now here, if this was web, you would have something like label like this, but as this is React Native, we will be using text. So as you could see, that text is very useful for either as a form or either as a label, or even for a paragraph. It's one and the same. So what we could reuse this title component by switching this, by having a prop over here and switching the text, because it's all going to remain almost the same. But I'm purposely creating it differently so that I can show an example of label tag, how it's equivalent to here for the label in React Native. So let's just copy this again and paste it over here. And let's just write the styling for that. So I'm going to say, so this time again, the text is going to come in. So this is the text, and here we will have a style, with TW backticks, and this is going to be text LG, padding of 1, and font semi-bold. Okay, and here we will have our text. Okay, now this is done. So we have form import, form label, button.js, form import, form label, everything is there. Great. Now we can also create a button component, but okay, let's create that as well. So I'm going to create a new file and say form button.js. I'm purposely not giving it button.js because in React Native there is button component of its own. Like there are core components, as we saw, text, text input, view. They are core components. So button is also one of the core component. So here I'm going to say React Native functional component form button. And if I use the button component, I cannot use Tailwind styling on that. So what I can do is, in React Native, there is something known as touchable opacity. This one. So this allows you to literally act. So this entire thing allows you to act it like a button. Okay. So as you could see, like if I click over here, this gets incremented. So it's exactly a button. So we will follow the same syntax. So I will just have to include touchable opacity and substitute that with view. And here we can pass our props. So this button is going to have some styling, and this button is also going to have some other features like the function that's gonna, like what to do when we press that button, and the text which will go inside it. So I'm gonna just simply say props like this, and then we will like restructure it over here. So I'm gonna say let, and here I'm gonna say other, then the click function, and what we will need is click function and the text that should go inside that button. This is all is gonna come from our props. Okay, now the styling I can put it over here, or actually, you know what, let's do this. Let's just put the styling, and all other we can pass, and the text actually, and the rest we can pass it. So here text will come, and here we will have our style. So we'll just copy the style from over here. Yeah, this one. And actually I'm using this TW a lot in the file, so there must be a way to reuse it by passing it as a prop. Yeah, we could do that. Actually, we can just include it over here, pass it as a prop, and then just reuse it. But okay, now we'll just follow this. So here we can just have TW. Now our button will be different. So there will be primary button, there will be secondary button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take whether it's a primary button or a secondary button. So I'm going to just say primary as a prop. And if it's a primary button, then my styling is going to change. So I'm going to take another variable here. So I'm going to say primary style. If it's a primary styling, then it would be TW something like, say, so I want this to be BG blue of 500, border none. Then I want padding of, say, 6 and PY of 2, and rounded corners. Okay, that should be okay. And we will also do the same for the secondary styling, but a bit differently. So here for secondary styling, I'm going to say secondary, and instead of BG blue, I'm going to say border blue. Okay, border will be there, of course, and BG will be transparent. BG transparent. Okay, and this should be okay. So what we will need here is okay, so we will also need some styling for the text. So if it's a secondary text, a primary text, then TW, and it will be something like text center. Oops. And font will be white, so text white with font bold. Okay, if it's a secondary text, then I just want to use the button color, so this would be blue 500. Oops. So this will be blue 500, and rest all will be same. So what we are going to do, we will switch stylings over here. So if it's primary, because we already restructured it. So if it's a primary button, then put primary styling. If it's a secondary button, then put secondary styling. Same for the text. We'll just copy this. So just copy it as it is and paste it over here. So if it's a primary text, then primary button, then primary text. If it's secondary text, so this should be secondary. If it's secondary text, then secondary text styling. Okay, so we have for now what we need. So we'll also need a component for form. So we'll create form.js, and we will put all our components that we created one by one inside this. But before that, let's go to screens and let's create a new screen as home.js. Okay, so let's put our screen here. So I'm going to say RNF. So this is our home view. Now let's go back to our app.js and let's put the React Native navigation over here. Okay, so just go to the docs of React Native navigation and you will see that it has all the steps of using it. So what we will need is we will need this navigation container. So let's just copy this line first. Copy and just paste it over here. Then we have to put our code inside this. So this is gonna go, and we will need the, okay, let's take this from here and put it in home for now. For a moment, we will come back to this. So status bar we don't need for now, so we can just comment this, and let's go back again over here so we can have that navigation container. Navigation container, it's a component itself. So if we have used React before, it's similar to the router and switch. So that router component has a switch inside it, and you just can switch the routes based on the route you're visiting. In the same way, there is this stack of components. And okay, let's close this first and let's go back again over here. So if I go to navigation over here, and okay, so we have to install this as well. I'm not sure if we install this. Let's quickly check. So navigation stack, no, we didn't. Okay, so we have to stop our project quickly. So I'm gonna go stop it over here and go back again over there, copy this and install it. So let's install it quickly. So this will install the navigation stack. So what we need from that is, so we need to create the stack navigator. So we'll just copy this line of code again. I'll explain you what is this doing. So we will have this over here, and now first we need to create a stack. Okay, because each of our screen is nothing going to be a stack of screens one over the other. So I'm going to say here const stack equal to create native navigator stack. Okay, we can remove this for now. Now this this function actually is going to give two components. The first is the navigator and the second one is the stack, as shown over here. Sorry, it's not the screen, not the stack, but the screen. So first is the navigator and the second one is the screen. So what we need is we just have to wrap our screen inside this navigator. Okay, so there will be one stack navigator, and inside that there will be several screens. So let's just copy this one as it is and paste it over here. Okay, so this stack has now navigator and the screen, like it has two children inside it. So inside this stack navigator we have all the screens, and when we are on the home screen, so this entire thing, or rather this thing, or rather actually entire thing will be substituted with the home component. If we go to these, let's say some other component, let's say to registration or login, then it will be substituted with the registration component or the registration screen. Okay, so here we have home. So let's import our home screen. So I'm going to say import home from screens, screens and home, and put it over here. Okay, now this should be all good to go. So let's say npm run start, and okay, so we have it again. So what I am gonna do is I'm just gonna refresh the server. So here I just have to press R, which will reload our app. So let's go back again over here. Yes, I have to restart it because I'm using the trial version, and after every 10 minutes I have to reconnect it by myself. So okay, let me mirror my screen. Alright, so we are back again over here. Let's start our Expo, and it sees that there are several errors. So let's fix those errors first. So it's coming from the home screen over here because we have, where is it? Over here, we have this styles dot container, but we didn't include the style sheet. So let's go over here and copy the style sheets from here and paste it in our home.js over here. And let's get the style sheet from React Native. And from the app, we can just remove it. Okay, simple. So now let's get back to our app mirror and let's see if everything is correct. Yes, so we have our app running over there. Now, if you see, there is this home title coming on the top of this. It's coming from here actually. So what we could do is we can hide that by passing some screen options in the navigator. So I'm going to say screen options, and I'm going to write, so this is going to take an object, and this will be header shown false. Okay, now if I go back, first I will save this, and now if I go back, you will see that the header is gone. Okay, let's have this side by side. Let's bring it over here, and let's push this screen all the way till here. Yeah, so that's it. Now, so we have our setup over here. Now let's go back to, okay, one more thing. We want to have a default, like the initial route. So I'm going to call this as initial route name, which is, as the name suggests, so it's going to be initial route name, and my initial screen will be the home screen. So that's okay. So it's getting refreshed. Now let's go and add our Firebase in this. So I'm going to go to my Chrome over here, then React Native project, copy this config. So I'm going to keep this in a separate file purposely. And here I'm going to create a new file known as firebase.js or firebaseconfig.js so that it doesn't conflict with something. Firebaseconfig.js. Just export const config, and we just paste it over here, and this can go. So we're just exporting this so that we can use somewhere. And in our app.js, so all we have to do is import Firebase from Firebase, and then over here, before we connect our app, here I want to say, so I'm going to use effect because I want to do this when our component is mounted. So I'm going to say use effect, and here I'm going to say inside our app over here, so we will have something like this, use effect, which will take in a function and which will change every time when there is nothing to change. So when there's something new, it will change. So here I'm gonna say if not firebase dot app dot, sorry, it's apps actually, yes, apps dot length. So if we haven't initiated any Firebase app, then I want to initialize an app. So I'm going to say Firebase dot initialize app with the config. So we will include the configs as well. So let's get the config from here. I'm going to say import config from Firebase config. That will go over here. So we want to initialize the app if it's not there. If it is there, so we will just reuse the app which is already there. So we'll say firebase.app. Okay, now let's get back to this one over here. Yeah, this one. So we have our app running, everything is looking good. Now let's go back to the form component. But before that, let's bring that form component on our home screen so that we can see what's happening behind the scene. So here, I'm gonna remove all of this, or actually, let's just put just a view. And then inside this, I'm gonna say title, which we will get it. So let's get title, and this will have a text. So I was using the view syntax. So this will gonna have a text here, which would be login. So this login is gonna be our by default screen. So if I save this, you will see login over here. Then we will get the form component. So I'm gonna say form. Come on, show me the. Oh, we are not exporting anything. That's why it's not showing anything. So let's do RNF. Here the form will have the view. So first one, we will need a form input group. So let's quickly create that component here. So I'm going to say const form input group. Now this, I'm purposely not creating separately in a component section, so that because this is just one thing I'm going to need, so I'm just going to import it over here straight away. So this thing is going to return something like we call JSX. So this is going to be a function which is going to return the JSX. So return, and this JSX will have a view, and inside this view, so let's take this down, there will be children. So children, so that's the prop coming for the React Native. Sorry, React, not the React Native actually. And inside this view, there will be children. Okay. Then we will also import Tailwind class name, Tailwind React Native class names. And here I want to give the styling. So each form input group will be placed having a margin of 3 and space y of 2, something like this. Now what we will do is here we will say form input group, our component, and inside this form input group we will pass our first the label. So I'm gonna say, okay, let's see if it gets it. Oh no, it's a title actually. Title. Oh, it's not giving me. Okay, tag. So let's do it. So title. Okay, I write it by myself. So title. Okay, now it is giving me. So this is gonna come from title, and this title is gonna. Sorry, this is a label actually, not title. It was good, it wasn't giving me before. So this is form label, and this is gonna come from the form label, and it's gonna take the text as email. And after that, so let's save this and get the form over here so we can see how it is looking. So I'm gonna say form, which is gonna come from components. So form, we can have it a self-closing tag over here. And okay, so we have the email, and then what we need next is okay, the first thing is we need to give some width to this. So I'm gonna say width of 100%. Okay, so is it Same this with the function person. And okay, so what we will do is we'll wrap this inside another view actually. So this will be inside view. You'll come to know why we are doing this. And here I'm going to say style, and I'm going to give Tailwind class of width full. Okay, so okay, we are missing something here. So we have title, we have form. Okay, inside the form, so it says oh, cannot find variable, of course, because we didn't include it. So I'm going to say import Tailwind from Tailwind React Native. Tailwind React Native class names. There. So I guess our time is out, so we'll just have to restart it again. Give me 1 minute. I'll just do it speaking. Alright, so we give the width full, and you could see now this form has become like 100% width. Now what we are going to do is we will give this one, let's say, not width full, but let's do it at 75%, so something like this. And let's save this. So I guess the server is having problems, so let's refresh this, and we reloaded the app and it's okay. Now I guess in the text, sorry, the title, I didn't give text center, so let's do text center. So our title is in the center. Now after having the email over here, so the next thing we need to do is go back to the form button, and here, sorry, not form button, but the form, and here let's have the form input. So here I'm going to say form input. So this will come from here, and this is going to come from form input. Yeah, that one. And we need to import this, so let's import this as well. So form input, form input. Now here, if this was something like say normal web input, you could do, as I said, type email or text, sorry, type email most probably, and then you have on change, sorry, yeah, on change and on input, all those stuffs. But here, what we do is we have something like this. So we say on change text, and then it will give a function or run a function, and then here we can use our use state. So what I'm going to do, I will get the use state from here, from React use state, and inside our component I'm going to say let email, or not let, but const actually, const email and set email, and let's give it a use state of blank. So by default the email is going to be blank, and whenever this changes, so it takes in the text, and whenever the text changes, we want that text to be binded with our email. So I'm going to say set email and pass in the text. Okay, so simple React way of assigning or achieving the data binding. So if I save this, we have proper error here. So we have form input. Okay, that's okay. Then we have props. So cannot find variable others. Yes, I guess it's not others here. So we did something wrong. It should be other over here, not others, because we are using other and not others. Yeah, we have our input here. Now to check if we are getting correctly, so what I'm going to do here is inside our form component over here, let's type something. So I'm going to say text, and inside that text, so if I'm including this, yes, so here inside that I want to see my email. So if I save this now and type something on my phone, so if I say something something something, so you could see like this is how you can achieve data binding in this. Now let's go back again and let's continue with the same for the password. So I'm just going to copy this as it is and keep it for password. So here, instead of email, it would be password. We also have an error here. It says space y. Okay, so as you could see, we cannot use all Tailwind classes here. So what we need to do is we need to remove this, and on each form input group, we have to give the margin, which is already there. But inside this, each of this, we need to give margin on its own. So it needs to have a margin of its own. So what I'm going to do for each form label over here, I'm going to give a margin bottom of maybe 4 or 5 maybe. Oh no, 5 is too much, maybe 2. Yeah, that's correct. And padding we can remove for now. So it's all in one line there. And then let's go back to form again. So here we have the password, then we just need to copy the same thing for password. So this would be password, set password, use state, password will be blank by default, and then we can remove this and this and have our password. So here we will say set password like this. I want to say value equal to, so email here, but this will become password. Okay, now next we will need our button. So I'm gonna get form input button. So let's take it from form button here, this one. So that should be imported up. Yeah, that's great. And then here I'm gonna pass two props. So if you see, it takes text and primary. So what's the text going inside, and what's the is it primary or not? So I'm gonna say primary as, so this is gonna be a primary button. So I'm gonna say without space. So I'm gonna say true. Text will be login, and let's see what we get. So we have other. Okay, so we need to just put this other at the end like this, and this should be good. If we go back again, so we have other, and it says unexpected trading. Oh, we don't need a comma, and it should be good. So we have the login button there. Now we could change the styling over here. We can slightly make it bigger. So I'm going to say py of 3, and also give some margin to it. So let's take it down, and I will say margin from top and bottom of 3, and same for this over here. So I'm going to say py of 3 and margin top and bottom of 3. Okay, so we have this one. Now next we need the same for where is that? So we have the form. So we got our login button, but we also need the, so this will be false and this will be register. So if I go over here and save it, so we have the register button. Now if this was React, we have something like on click, but as this is mobile and React Native, we have to do on press. Okay, so this on press is gonna sorry, I was using view style here. So this on press is gonna execute a function when we press that button. So in this case, if I just write a function here, we'll write it on new line, and if I write it here something like alert, let's take email for instance. So let's type an email here. So let me just type it. So I'm gonna say aditya@email.com, and now if I go over here and press login, so okay, so we aren't getting anything because we have on press, alert. Oh, okay, so let's just press something here and say I was pressed. And now if we go here, oh, nothing happens. Okay, so we are missing something here. So we have on press, that's gonna go on our form button over here on the touchable opacity. If we are putting it there, oh, we aren't putting it there, that's why it's not going there. So we have to do here other, and then it should be working. So if we do, and it's working now. So as you could see, like the other props that we have it defined on the component with that other array separated other, or spread operator other, not array separated, but the spread operator other, we can have it attached to our component straight away over here. Okay, so it's same with React, and it's same with React Native. Like the logic is same, but what changes here is instead of on click we have on press. So that's our form button. Now let's have here a function to handle our logic of login. So what I'm gonna do here, whatever oh, we have to reconnect again, we'll get back to that. So whatever data we pass, because the form is going to be the same, what's going to change is whether it's login or is it register. So here I'm going to pass some props, which will be, is it sign up form? So I'm going to say sign up, it's going to be a boolean, and yeah, that should be okay. So inside this sign up, I'm gonna say here, so if this was sign up, then what will be the text here and what will be the text here. So I'm just gonna write here something like this. So if this is sign up, then login. No, this should be not sign up, then login. As over here we will have register. Same over here, if this is sign up, then this should be login. Else we will have register. Okay, so if it's not sign up, then login primary button. If it's sign up, then login as, so register as a primary button. So let me just reconnect this again. So let's see. Okay, so we are back again over here. So let me just push this phone down. How can I push it down? Let's do it like this. Let's push the phone over here, somewhere here. Yeah, and we have this over here. Yeah, so okay, all good. So let's stop mirroring and go to our app over here. Okay, so we have the login, we have the register button. Now next thing we need to do is separate the form. So we already did it here, like if it's a login, then login, if it's register, it's registered. So what we are going to do is, let's create another screen here. I'm going to call it register.js, and here the concept is going to be the same. So if you see, this can act as a layout if we like. So we can create a component here as new file, and we can call it layout.js, and inside this layout.js we can have this styling. So let's copy this and we can remove what we want. So let's have here children, that's going to come over here from layout as children, and no need of these stuffs, no need of this as well, and that should be okay. And here inside this we can call this as a layout, can remove this from here, call this as layout, and let's just remove this from here, and we don't need these stuffs over here, and let's just import layout. Oh, we don't need, yeah, we need this actually. So let's import layout from layout. Okay, cool. So everything remains same, nothing changes. Now let's format this, yes, like this. Now let's go to register. Let's copy this exactly as it is, put it over here as register, and this would be form sign up. We'll go back to that, and the rest all remain as it is. So this would be sign up, that would be, oh, not again. So this would be true, and if it's home.js, then sign up, this would be false. Okay, so now what I want is, when we click on this secondary button, we should navigate. So if it's on register, we should go to login. If it's on login, we should go to register. So how we are going to do it, there is something in React Native navigation. If I go to the docs again, so if I go to in this moving between the screens, there is, so every screen has a prop of by default as navigation. So whichever component which is inside of this in this navigator stack, especially this one, it will have a prop of navigation. But how to pass this navigation to the components? Okay, so for that there is something which is use navigation. Okay, so what we will do is if I search over here use navigation, use this one, use navigation, so this is what we will need. So we can pass this to our component. So we will just copy this, go over here. Okay, we just have 10 minutes, we have to hurry. So use navigation here, we can remove the text, and here we will say inside this we will say const navigation equal to use navigation. And then what we have to do here is we need a screen name. So I'm just gonna say screen. So if this is sign up, so the sign up is there, then the navigation screen should be login. Else it should be register. And simply after that, so we can put this, and after that what we have to do here is on this button press, so we'll say on press execute a function of navigation dot navigate to screen. Now let's test this. So if we go over here, now we are at login. So if I hit on register, okay, the navigate with payload, okay, something is going wrong over here. Let's see the error. So it says name register was not handled. Okay, because we don't have the route set up in the app.js over here. We need to put it over here, the register route. So let's copy this, then make this as register and get the register component. Great, so we have the register component. Now if we go back again, so register takes to register, and we need to change the text. We will change it in a moment. So let's go to register.js. Here this will be register. Save it, and login takes to, okay, so action with navigate. I guess we have to pass the another mistake. This should be home, not login, because our login screen is called home. And then we can just go to, okay, so this is, oh sorry, if it's not sign up, then home, and it's not over here, it should be in the screen, so it's this one actually. And now if we go to login, then login, register, oh sorry, it should be register, login, register. Okay, great. Now let's proceed with the Firebase authentication. So let's go to our form.js, and now what I want to do is whenever this login button or register button, whatever it is pressed, it will pass a function. Okay, so this will execute a function on submit, and that submit will take email and password up to our parent. And where this submit is going to come from, it will be our prop. So this will be on submit. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I want now this prop, or if you want to communicate between your child component to your parent component, it's exactly same as React. You pass something from the top, and especially from the parent, and you just use it in the child, and then you can pass back again over there. It's not a two-way data binding, it's one-way data binding only. So you'll come to know what we exactly mean. Now this on sign up function, sorry, on submit function is a prop that will be passed. So this is a prop of this form, and its value will be passed from the parent. So if we go to home.js, so I'm going to create a function here. I'm going to say const login. It's going to be a function which will take email and password, and this function will be passed as a prop over here on sign up. Now this, for this form instance, whenever someone hits login, this on submit will represent this login function. So sorry, this should be on submit, not on sign up. So it should be on submit. Now if I go over here and if I say alert email, so let's see what we get. So let's go to login and let's type email. So just some random email at the rate example.com. And if we go over here, hit login, you will see that this login function here is being executed. Okay, now we will do the same thing for, like, the password is also getting passed like that. So that's great. Now let's go back over here and do the same thing for register. So here we will take a function const register, and this is going to be a function taking email and password, which will be passed again to our form. So it will be on submit. This is going to be I always use view syntax. So register. Perfect. Now let's go back again over here. So register. Okay, so what we want here is if email, so if not email and not password, then in that case just alert, please enter all the required fields. Okay, so let's try it out. So if we hit register, please enter all the required fields. Perfect. Now that's done. Now next thing we need to do is, if they have entered something, then we have to do Firebase sign up. So let's go to Firebase docs back again. So here in the documentation, if you go to fundamentals over here, fundamentals, if I go to add Firebase web, over here you will see authentication, which should be somewhere here. Now to enable authentication, we need to enable from over here first. So I'm going to go to authentication, then get started. After we get started, then email password, enable and save, and that's good to go. And here we have get started. So as we are using Firebase version 8, so we have to just follow this. So let's quickly go over here, import Firebase. Oops. Actually it should be here. Okay, so import Firebase from Firebase, and then all we have to do here is, if this is correct, then Firebase auth create user with email and password, which will take in a function, or actually yes, it takes the variables, which is and will return a promise. So in 9 it takes a function, and here it takes, so it takes a function actually. So it will return a promise. So this function is going to return a promise, and then we will resolve it over here. So here we will say email comma password, that is coming from here, this one, and then let's put it on new line. After this is done, then we will get a user, which will be the registered user, and then we will execute a function here. Now other thing to do here is, whenever this thing is executed correctly, there is also a catch error, we will go to that. But also other thing to notice here is, if we go to our register form quickly, okay, let me just reset it again. All right, so it's ready to be used. Then we will go back here and back to our application. Now if you see, if I type the password over here, it's a plain text password. So how to make it like a secure password with those, like those ... kind of thing. So we will go to our form over here, and wherever it is password, we will say something like this. So we'll say here, this form input should be a secure text entry. So I'm going to say secure text entry entry equal to, and this should be true. Now if we save this and just try to type again, you will see that this password over here. So if I go back again over here and type something, and here, so let's go to login and let's go to register again, and here let's try to type something. Okay, so we type the email. Okay, the email is getting typed, so maybe because we set it to secure text entry, so that's why we are not seeing it. So okay, so that's that. And then right, so we have the secure text entry now. So next thing we need to take care is, okay, so we have the password, we have the email, now we have to register. So we now go to register over here, we call the Firebase function, and we will take another use state here because we want to set the error message and the success message. So I'm going to say use state, and we will have here const error message set error will be a use state of blank, and there will be another thing. So we will have success message set success. This will be use state of another blank. And then what we want here is, so we want to have, so if there is an error, so we'll catch the error. And if we go to the documentation over here, so we have the error code and the error message. So we are interested in this error message. So I'm going to say here set error as error dot message. Okay, and then over here what we are going to do is we will have a text. So I'm going to say after the title error message. So if there is an error message, then have a JSX of text. So I guess, did I remove it? Yes, I removed it. Let's get it back again. So text, and inside that text just show the error message. Okay, like this text. Yes. So now if we go back again and let's just go to register. So is it working? Yeah, so it's there. Now let's try to, okay, let's try to reconnect back. And okay, so here you will say that text must be rendered within a string. So this thing, even though it's blank, it won't render because it has to have some text inside here or a string inside this text. So what we are going to do, we will give a double node to make sure that this is not blank. And if we go back again, now go to register, it will work fine. So we just need to make sure that there is something inside this. Now let's give some Tailwind styling to this. So style and no Tailwind, and then we just want bg red of maybe 400, p of 1, my of 2, and text red of 700, and that's it. So if we save this and just hit register, it will show us please enter all required fields. Also it says email address is badly formatted, so it's going over here. So we need to make sure that it doesn't go, so we need to make sure this is in the else loop so that it doesn't attempt to go to our Firebase if the fields are blank. So if we go back again over here and let's try again. So if we hit register, that's okay, that's great. And here we will, now once we have the user, so what we are going to say is we will say set success as user registered successfully, and also here we will have a message for success. So this error message will be our success message. Now you can use Redux to handle the user state, but I won't be doing that because already the video is too long, so I'll just keep it simple. So I'll just make this thing from red to green. And what we will do is once the user is registered, so we just want to do set error as blank again, and just that's it. So if we go back again, let's register user properly here. So I'm going to say aditya@example.com, then .com, then password. I'll just put 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, return and register. So it says user registered successfully. So let's see if it's registered in our Firebase. So if I go over here, React Native users, and there is our user. So that's perfectly registered. Now next thing we need to do is do the login. So login is exactly similar, pretty simple. So what we need to do is go to our home. Inside this login, just import Firebase. So I'm just going to copy most of the code. So I'm just going to say Firebase, import Firebase, just about this export. So here we'll import the Firebase, and here we will say firebase.auth.sign in with email and password. Then that will take email comma password, and then it will return a promise. Then if it's all good, then user, that will be our authenticated user. And we will just say so we also need that set error messages, so I will just copy paste them over here like this. We'll get the use state as well quickly. So this use state will come from here, and then we will need from register, we will just need these two as well. So I'll just copy this and put it. So we could take it as a different component if we like, and here we'll just paste it, so we don't have to write this code again and again. And here what we will do is instead of user registers, okay, so we'll see that, and then we will say here set success as, so let's use the backtick, so user registered, logged in, okay, so it's already registered, logged in successfully, and we'll give the user ID. So I'm going to say user dot authenticated user ID. Let's see. So if we go to sign in, yeah, so user dot ID. So I'm going to say user dot UID. Okay. Then we will catch an error here. So we'll say catch catch. If there is any error, then simply we will say here okay, so this would be set error dot message. Also, we will make sure that we are doing this if there is email and then password. If it's not there, then we will say the same thing, that you need to put in all the fields over here. So where is that? This thing. Actually, we could do this in form component and just switch the email or login function depending on what we want. So that was the other way to get. It's another way to do it there. Else, instead of switching the text, so we can just switch not just the text and everything, but also the functions. If it's login, then login. If it's register, something like that. So that's okay now. So here we have the error. We set the user, and I guess this should be good to go. So if we go back again to our app, we have to again reconnect it. Okay, so we are at register. Now let's go to login. So here let's try to log in. So okay, we didn't even log in yet, but it's asking to us. Maybe we log in by mistake. So here I'm going to say Aditya. I'm just going to keep it as it is like this, and let's see what error it gives. So can't find variable text because we didn't import it here. So let's import it and save it, and let's try again. So let's try Aditya, and let's try login. The email address is badly formatted. That's great. Then we'll say let's do example.com, and I won't put any password. Press login. The password is invalid or the user does not have a password. That's great. That's perfect. Now what if we put a password? So I will say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and then if we hit login, it says user logged in successfully, and that's our user ID. We forgot to set the error message back to blank here, so we can say set error as blank. And now if we try again, this should work. Great. So that's all from me for today. So this is how you could use Firebase for your React Native application. Sorry, but the video went too long because there were some things to consider, and also like yeah, we could have done some code reviews some here and there, especially in this form. Like instead of creating two separate actually we will need two separate components, so it's okay. Like It's one way or the other, it's okay. So that's all from me. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you feel this video is worth sharing, please share with your network. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel. And also, if you haven't checked out my Udemy course on Vue 3, Firebase, and Tailwind CSS, so please do check that as well. I'll put the link in the description. So that's all from me. Till the next time, goodbye.